Well, I got to start right now, so I'm going to give you a demonstration on glue-on shoes. Um, the first thing is we're going to prep the foot, and I'm not going to get into shoeing, just basically how you're going to get adhesion on your shoe. The glue is only going to adhere to where you rasp. So what I've rasped was the plane of the foot down here, and here on the outside kind of to form a clip. Wherever you don't rasp, the glue won't adhere. And keep your fingers off that. If you put your fingerprint on there, the glue won't adhere. Just kind of, even though you don't see it, it's like glass. The glue is real sensitive to oil. Second, after that, I'm going to grind all the finish off my shoe. And the same thing, I'm going to make sure I keep my fingers off any area where I've ground. Once I've ground there, I don't ever want to touch that spot again. So I touched this a little bit, so I'm just gonna want to make sure it sticks. And if you have wet feet or you live in a wet environment, if you ever set a foot down on like a rubber mat, you'll see it leaves a wet hoof print. That's the blood circulating through the foot. It's always dropping off moisture, and it's going to want to drop off moisture between your glue and the foot. So if you want to kind of avoid that, you can take a small butane torch or a propane torch. Make sure you always put your hand over the bulbs, and you can just lightly hit it and hit the top surface. You kind of cauterize it a little bit. Take a wire brush and knock off all the brown, anything that you see that looks like you charred it. And I promise you, it'll never break loose from the hoof. I'm going to also use sole liners on this horse to relieve sole pressures. So I'm going to grind the finish off the shoe right now. So I was careful not to put my finger anywhere. I hold it by the edges. I used a masonry wheel on my grinder. I find that it just roughs it up. I've never had the glue ever come off my shoe doing it this way. I see some people don't get good adhesion on their shoes, and I'll give you a few little tips on that. If your wheel's dirty, if you're hitting your apron, if you're shoeing any horses, they have hoof grease. Your apron carries a lot of oil, and you touch your apron, now you're pushing oil into your shoe. So make sure your wheel's clean. Make sure you don't touch your apron. You want your shoe absolutely clean. If you have a Burking or a grinder on your truck, that belt works great too. And actually, I do a lot of them that way now. I just do them on my Burking. I put a new belt up and never have any problems. And always wear your safety glasses. Okay, so from the friction from the grinder, the shoe gets pretty hot, and it dries a little too quick that way, so I allow this to cool down a little bit, but I leave a little warmth in it because it'll help kick it off a little bit quicker. Thoroughbred Racing Plate sells the tar strips. I use Bond and Flex, the slow set. I find it works best for me. It bonds, it flexes, it doesn't dry chalky. And I can control, if I need it to dry quicker, I can heat my tubes with a heat gun so I can get all the same results, and I just need to buy one type of glue. I take 2 tar strips. They're kind of tricky, but I attach them together this way. If you do it this way, once they stick, you'll never get them apart, so kind of gravity holds it in place while I'm attaching the 2. And I like 2 versus 1. That way I'm not having the glue run back over, and then I trim off the excess with my hoof knife. I can stretch this thickness to the thickness I want. And I'm sorry I'm going a little quick here, but I'm on a time thing. And I apply my tar strip to the foot, not to the shoe. If you apply it to the shoe, it's going to run on the back side of your glue, and that's kind of defeating the purpose. And it's pretty hard to cover all the contours of the white line. I like to cover up. I only like to glue on the wall itself. I don't like to cover up the white line, and I'm not that great where I could follow every contour here to mirror that image over there. Okay, so after I prep the foot, I usually take paper towels or sheet cotton. I'm working on a demo here, and I wrap the foot to keep it dry and keep it clean so I can set the foot back down while I'm working. And then usually what I'll do is I'll cut a little hole in the bottom here just to let some air in there, because whenever you shut the air off to something, you raise the humidity 100% and that foot will start to sweat in that plastic. So I don't use cups and popsicle sticks. It looks a lot fancier, but I like the idea of something pliable in my hand, and I like the idea of a palette. I don't use mixing tips. I like to see my glue mixed together. Using cups, you get white stuck in the corners, and then sometimes you'll get it on your foot, and I want to see what I'm working on. It doesn't have to go really neat. It's not like you're baking a cake. You just need to make sure that you cover all the surfaces of the shoe. I'm gonna even cover where the tar strip is gonna go. I don't have any problems with that. I can see that everything's mixed. There's no white in any corner. I take a little glue, I put it on my finger, and you're gonna hold this ever so lightly, because or otherwise it will stick to this glove. So I get a little glue going, and then I start to follow the contours of the white line and pressing down. And I assure you I will have no glue on that sole. I take this, I rub it a little bit, and just press down. How am I doing on time? Pardon me? So I'm checking the toe, make sure I filled in any voids. Have that heat gun come, please? Heat gun? So I place my fingers over the bulbs. You want to be careful not to blister his bulbs. Otherwise, in about 2 or 3 days, it's going to look like he grabbed a quarter. And what actually happened, I blistered his bulb. And it looks just like a grab quarter when you're done. And also, when you're waiting, you don't want to apply too much heat. So when you're resting, make sure you're not pointing this up at his belly, or you'll wind up with a nice ball on his stomach where you burn him. Take it from experience. So I always point it down when I'm done. And you want to make sure also your feet don't have any iodine. The glue hates iodine. Iodine and oil. Even if they had iodine a few days later, you might not see the color. Well, when you apply the heat gun, you'll smell the iodine coming through. You're gonna lose your shoe. Most all the glue is pretty much the same sensitivity to the same chemicals. And the last place this glue is going to dry is at the toe, because that's where the glue is the thinnest. Wherever it's thicker, you're going to get more chemical reaction. It's going to get hotter, and it's going to dry there first. So when you think it's dry in the heels, take a little nail, poke at the toe. If it's still soft, you got to keep holding it up. You can't set it down, or you'll lose shoes. It'll break away. But these clips on the sides of your feet, your shoe really full for the last couple inches back, and you build a little clip in the heels, and that's your holding power. That's going to be a good 75–80% of your holding power. When you lose that bond there, you'll lose the shoe within 1 or 2 days. So I should have passed around to this class. I did to the other one to show you that you need this shoe full. Kimber, there's a shoe right there and a hoof. Don't pass that around, so that shoe is shaped the way it should be. Maybe I exaggerated just a little bit more than I do. So the tar, it doesn't look, like I said in the other class, an artist usually never shows his work till it's done. So this doesn't go on as pretty as the ones that are on the shoe. But when you're done, believe me, it's done right. I'm going to poke here at the toe, see if it's dry, which is probably isn't, but we're running out of time. It's still a little bit wet. I would still normally hold that up. And then you come around here with your hoof knife, and you just clean this up. Some of my tar is pulling out of there because it's not, the glue wasn't completely dry, but you'll never have the glue run on the back side of your tar. And sometimes I pull out all the tar if I have a lot of muck under there where I want them to treat the foot, because he's got a lot of thrush. And I just tell the groom when he gets into the hoof pick, don't be prying and trying to pop the shoe off. And it holds just as well without the tar strip. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and pop this out. If you wait till the glue completely dries, you won't be able to get the tar out, because the glue kind of locks it into place. Where'd that knife go? The knife? Oh, it's in my pocket. Yeah. Well, they only give you 15 minutes, so. I only had enough time to finish one side, so.